Kevin, again, thanks for the opportunity to join us here on Tech Talk. First, let's talk about you're the co-founder and managing partner of INVIZIO, along with your partner, Kyle Hurst. Give us a little synopsis of what INVIZIO is.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, INVIZIO, we are an IT services company based here in South Florida. Our main focus is being an outsourced IT department to companies that don't have in-house staff or an in-house IT director, companies that need guidance and expertise around technology, but really don't have it within their own ranks. So we fill the role of that IT director by advising them on technologies they should implement for their business, implementing those technologies and supporting their teams sort of on a day-to-day operational basis with all of the issues and challenges that come up with technology. Those business owners, those partners of businesses and organizations need someone they can rely on, and that's what we do.
Okay. Are there any particular type of market segment or business size that you particularly cater towards?
Yeah, I mean, so most of our customers are going to be what we call the SMB market, or the small and mid-sized business. Okay. Here in South Florida, most of our companies are small businesses, and many of them under 100 employees.
When most people think of IT, they think about large corporations. They don't think about small to mid-sized companies in terms of its usage. How can small and mid-sized companies best leverage IT services and consulting firms such as yours?
Yeah, so I think just sort of over the 6 years that we've had INVIZIO, almost 6 years that we've had INVIZIO, one of the things that we encounter quite often is that many small business owners, many organizations are sort of missing out even on the basics, right? So one of the areas that we try to focus in heavily a lot when we work with a new client is sort of mastering the basics, is what we call it, because many of them, sort of run by the seat of their pants, not
right.
knowing that there's a serious risk that is posed when they could lose their data and how they can go about doing that. So there's just so many areas that small businesses kind of lack information on to begin with, that they can really leverage us to reduce the risk in their business, to be more productive with their employees, having better, more available access to technology, and then also just having someone to talk to understand what their business growth plan is, understanding what the next 6, 9 months, 12 months look like in their business, and how does technology intersect with those plans,
right.
and where we can support that.
Right. Is that a hard sell to S&Ms?
Well, it can be. It sort of depends on the level of maturity of the business. I think typically if you're a really small or micro business, you sort of start out with limited capital in many cases, not really having the ability to invest heavily in technology, or even
right.
to really consider that as one of your priorities when you start
right.
your business. But as those companies mature and the employee base grows and the partners become so busy now that they recognize that they have to outsource some of these activities, then it becomes more important for them. It becomes more of a priority that they understand that technology supports every aspect of their business, and so they can't afford to ignore it anymore.
Right. I want to go back a little bit and talk about your history, your journey, because you've been with some pretty big companies, Citigroup, Motorola, and so forth. How does this journey or that involvement with these companies lead up to where you are now with INVIZIO?
Yeah, so that's really a complex picture for me to paint, but I think that sort of my background just roughly is that, I graduated from the University of Miami with a Bachelor of Science in IT and in Computer Science as a second major. And throughout my college experience, I really wanted to be a software developer, right? And so that's where my experience with Motorola was. I was an intern working in their mobile devices division, which has been sold to Google, and obviously is going through some of their own challenges now. I was a software developer there as an intern during my college years.
Okay.
And then towards the end of my college years, what I quickly realized is that I wanted to be in more of a technology leadership role as opposed to simply on the implementation side. So then when I went to work for Citi, it was a technology management associate program, or a 2-year rotational leadership development program, in which I was able to sort of work with departments across the organization that were investing in Citi's technology infrastructure for either applications for their business or just to expand sort of the basic core technology infrastructure needs of their particular market segment.
Right.
So that gave me a lot of experience in project management and working in cross-functional teams, and sort of understanding how IT impacts the bottom line of the business, how it enables parts of business to really function and create revenue. And so I guess all of those experiences tossed in with the fact that I had many other friends and that were entrepreneurs and were going out on their own and striking out on their own, really prompted me to say, well, how can I leverage sort of my knowledge, my expertise in an environment such as Miami or any other city in the U.S., and provide something of value. Consult with businesses that don't have any sense of what they need.
Looking at that journey, but even taking it a little bit further back, what was your initial attraction to technology to begin with, earlier on?
Wow. Oh my. So when I was about 12 years old, I want to say, I had a family friend who was a little older, who'd been really into technology, when he was a kid, and he'd always say, well, you got to tell your parents, get a computer, get a computer. So eventually my dad relented, and I came home one day from high school, because I grew up in Antigua, so we do high school really young, and I remember coming home one day, and there was a computer just sitting on a desk in my living room, and from that point onwards, I was in love. There was no one to say, well, let me teach you how to use this. There was no one to say, this is how you do this or how you do that. So it was just from that moment onward, it was a learning process for me. And the more that I learned, the more intrigued I was by technology. And so when the time came for me to graduate high school and think about what I would do in college, it was an obvious choice, given that I had some of this self-taught learning experiences, and then I had actual in-classroom experiences learning computer programming at the age of 14. So all of that kind of came together to kind of put me in this path of where I've been for the last 14 years of my life.
What do you think it is, can, and should be that attractive force for young people today, to really be able to be on that path that you took, not just in the social media gaming space, but from this IT, technology overall?
I think fundamentally it's about exposure.
Okay.
I think that for you to fall in love with something, for you to even know that an opportunity exists in something, you have to have been given some exposure to it. And so the more that we can expose kids, particularly children in disadvantaged backgrounds, to technology at an early age, I mean, all of them are using it, right? Someone in their family has an iPhone or iPad or Android or some device in which they interact frequently
Right.
with technology. And so these kids are digital natives. They grew up with this stuff. I remember not having a cell phone, right? And so the more we can expose kids to technology at an early age, the better. But I think just going above and beyond that is having them understand that there are people with real jobs, real careers, real opportunities in this industry. And beyond that, that the things that they want to change about the world,
Absolutely.
they can innovate through technology, right? That's a platform, that's a vehicle for them to take their best ideas and share those with the world.
Cool. How do you see that happening now? Obviously it can always be more, but and let's look at it in terms of South Florida in particular. Where do you see that happening? Is it something that's really growing or taking off? What do you think?
Well, South Florida right now is a real melting pot of ideas and opportunities and everything melded into one. And so we have a really growing technology ecosystem here in South Florida that I think, above and beyond creating wealth for individuals and companies,
Right.
has sort of a corporate social responsibility that as the industry grows, try to reach out to more people across this entire community and get them involved in the process and the development of technology, get them exposed to technology. The guys that are entrepreneurs that are starting, or they're CTOs of all these, startup companies that are wonderful, should really think about how can my organization, even though we're a startup or we're getting into the next stage, how can we give back? And they can be mentors. They can be the person that shows up at career day. Simple as that. Those things really make a difference, right? And I think that just with all of the organizations, the supporting organizations that we have, like the Lab Miami, like the Venture Hive, like the Knight Foundation and the work that they've done, all of their activities, they should certainly fund more and invest more in programs that expose all of our youth to technology. I think we're fortunate that we have a superintendent of schools who is very much invested in the
Right.
idea of introducing
Yes.
technology.
Yes.
At the earliest stages possible. So the more of that we can do and support as a community, I think that we are already sort of on the right path, but I think with more investment, more focus, that we will get even further, even faster.
I know for a fact that both yourself and your partner Kyle are very community and civic minded. So just talk to us a little bit about some of the initiative that you're involved in, and how do you think technology can best help these communities, grow and prosper?
Right. So I mean, that's a very good question. I think that in terms of what we do as a company and what I do personally, just in terms of my involvement. So one of the things that I'm involved with now is the New Leaders Task Force at the Beacon Council, and that task force was set up over a year ago, back in 2012, actually, as a vehicle for young developing leaders across different organizations here in South Florida to really find some way that they can contribute to the overall economic picture. So we've zeroed in on the idea of brain drain and combating brain drain by working on programs and initiatives that directly impact the retention and development of talent in South Florida.
Right.
Right. So that's a big area for us, because if you think about it, right, you talk about information technology, and so then that bleeds into the word information worker, right? So the more people that we have in our society here, our local economy, that are information people, so to speak, then the better off we are as a community, right? And so if we can impact the piece of talent retention, it just simply means we have a more educated society, we have a more educated workforce, and we have more people that can contribute to building this community in an intelligent and thoughtful way, right? So that's one of the initiatives that we work on.
And that makes a lot of sense too, because again, with the growing infrastructure technology-wise here in South Florida, and companies growing organically here as well as companies looking to South Florida, then obviously it makes sense to be able to have a local workforce from which to draw and exactly the communities.
And technology, just sort of in a broader sense, is one of those areas where it creates expanded opportunity for the community, right? Not only is there the direct dollars that go into investing into the people and the organizations that are the startups in our environment, but the indirect dollars that are spent with the mom and pops, that are spent just sort of in real estate and all the areas that we have here in South Florida. So I think that just sort of technology is just an area where we can create so much for this community.
Based upon what the conversation we just had, where is the African American community's position to really take advantage of what's happening? I think, in your view.
So in my view, I think the bigger picture for me is numbers, right?
Yeah.
I've always been approached sort of with the conversation of, why aren't more minorities in these STEM fields, right? Science, technology, engineering, and math. And I think fundamentally it's about, we have to create a bench, right? We have to create an opportunity for more kids that are growing up today, that are being exposed to technology, to decide, this is an industry that I want to be a part of. This is something that I want to do, right?
Yeah.
And so I think the opportunity lies for all of us in creating more exposure, right?
Yeah.
That's fundamentally where I see it.
Is that attractive enough for them though? I mean, or just am I just being a little bit too simplistic where our younger people are concerned?
No, I don't think you're being simplistic. I really do believe that exposure is it, because technology encompasses so many areas, right?
Certainly.
There's obviously the video game design professionals, and that's exciting and that's cool, right? But there are the other startups that are working on real world problems that affect real people, real lives, and those things are relatable, particularly to people of color, right?
True.
If we're looking at social technology companies, those that are focused on helping some type of civic need, those are real opportunities. Those are things that can help someone down the street tomorrow. Right. And so I think the more that children are exposed to the idea that technology and creating technology is fundamentally about problem solving, then they recognize that there's so many things around them that they want to solve.
Yeah. Makes sense. Talk to me about what you see as the future for the IT field, your particular space, and what do you see is, if you will, trending now?
Well, I think, like I mentioned before, the future of our space, just in terms of IT, and you think IT, it's so broad, and we kind of are in the infrastructure category of IT. But if you were to really think about it, right, all the things that have been bubbling up over the last couple of years, cloud computing, big data, wearable technology, all of those things are the consumerization of IT, all of these sort of buzz terms. These are the things that that the industry is moving towards, right? More agnostic, platform agnostic applications, sort of the democratization of computing is sort of accelerated. So all of these things are larger, bigger drivers to our industry. And it's really where we want to take it, right? You know, I've heard of tremendous ideas in the simple things as agriculture, right? You know,
sure,
like how do you
sure.
apply technology to agriculture?
Sure.
So technology is growing. We're seeing a lot more applications live in the cloud, a lot more applications being built in the cloud. We're seeing a lot less in terms of infrastructure requirements for businesses and organizations, because what we have is so much more powerful. And we have cloud computing that's sort of, you know, leveraging all of the resources in a way that is intelligent. So we're seeing things around, you know, sort of the greening of technology, right? We're starting to see a lot more movement in those areas. So I expect all of that to grow, right? I expect mobile computing to take a bigger hold, even in the business space, and it has year over year across all industries. You see more mobile come into play. And so sort of where everything is going in my mind is that, you know, you want to have access to data anywhere, everywhere, across any device, with any of the applications that you need to make a decision where you are at that moment, right? So this is really where the industry is going.
Now, as we wrap up, is INVIZIO going to continue to serve small and mid-sized client base, or is it going to kind of push towards bigger arenas?
I think our core of our business will continue to reside in the small and mid-sized business space. I mean, to say small and mid-sized is such a broad area, right? In what we do today, we are the one-stop shop for many businesses that are sort of in that 100 employee and under space. You know, we provide everything from setup to support to consulting. Through all of that, we provide much of it. But as we continue to grow our business, what I see next is that we probably will reach out to grow into the public sector space, develop more specializations, because as it is right now, the way organizations rely on us, we are IT generalists as opposed to specialists. So, you know, we're more likely to grow in the area of having specializations that we can serve larger clients, be part of larger projects, and then grow into the public sector at the local, state, and possibly the federal level. So that's sort of the long-term vision for the business.
When you term INVIZIO as a IT services and consulting firm, is it, you know, creating, providing those services, but again, you know, just kind of giving some guidance to companies and organizations with respect to how they can best position themselves there?
Yeah, correct. I think the guidance, as you mentioned, is probably the key part. That's that's the driver.
Right.
Obviously, we would love to serve anyone that wants to pay us money, which is obviously why we're in business. But I think having the right information, having access to sort of what the trends are, having someone show you sort of maybe what is it you could do better with your business, those are the conversations that drive the services that we offer. Right. Because that's the starting point for all of it. It's how does the business itself make more effective use of technology, whether it's already what they've already invested in, or if it's something that they're considering, and when they're considering it, what aligns most closely with their business objectives. And so we try to sort of work with companies, leading with the advice and executing with the services.
Yeah, well, from what I know for sure that you're doing some great work in that space, based upon the conversations that I've had with others, some clients, some non-clients as well, and the work you're doing in the community. So we appreciate your time, and, you know, thanks, and continued success to you.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Thank you for your time also.